Hello, this is Dr. Dustin Broombaugh, adjunct professor at Georgetown. This is a short video that I'll be reviewing a few items for EDA 611. I've had a few questions since our online meeting a few days ago, so I thought I'd go ahead and put a short video together. This video won't be any longer than 10 minutes, but just give you a few explanations of some things that need to be done for the first few weeks of this course, especially after I talked to David Baird, one of your education clinical educators. Felt like it's necessary I put a short video together just to make sure we're on the same page. So if you wasn't with us on the first meeting on Monday night for our 611 course, please make sure that you went ahead and watch the video overview. It is about a full hour, but there's lots of information in this course, and need to make sure everybody's up to speed on that. So once again, if you were not with us at our first meeting on Monday night, please make sure you watch a video recording of that course, of that class meeting that night. So on to why we're meeting tonight. So basically, under week one, I wanted to point out there's a lot of information. So week one, August 21 through 27. Just so you know how to purchase the field experience management component, there's directions there. Everybody that's each student and who their clinical educator is this document here. It'll tell you who you are and who you're matched up with as your clinical educator. So use that information, and then here's the contact information for those four different clinical educators. So I'm going to go over these two here. Right under the email addresses for our clinical educators is a document that David Baird put together. I believe all four of the clinical educators are following this. So when you open up that document, it talks about all the items that will need to be done prior to their first visit. As I'm going to share with you here in a moment, when you visit for the first time with your clinical educator, it should be your second committee meeting. As you recall, when we go down to week 3 here, week 3, you are supposed to hold your first committee meeting with your committee and do the items described here. That first committee meeting should include your head principal, some certified and classified staff, and hopefully a parent or community member too. Hold that first meeting, go over these things. I'll go in detail in just a moment, but you need to hold that first meeting with your committee on or before Sunday, September the 10th, and by September the 10th, upload those minutes for week 3. All right. This document here under week 1 doesn't necessarily need to be completed at week 1. I just shared that information with you for week 1. But your clinical educator, you need to email them and set up a meeting with them to observe your second meeting. So let's go ahead and go over that. The document that I'm about to show you is under week 1 as well. This committee meeting 1 and 2 PowerPoint. This has a little bit of information for you. All right, so committee meeting number 1, as I just talked about. Hold your first committee meeting with your group or committee at the school level on or before September the 10th. As I said, the committee should include your principal, some certified and classified staff, and obviously we're encouraging you to include a parent or a community member as well. Once you're done with this meeting, we want you to upload the minutes under week 3 of Moodle. And during meeting number 1 with your committee, you should at minimum include the following. In the minutes, make sure and tell me the date and time and location of where you had that meeting. Tell me of everyone who's in the committee, their name, their role. Third thing in your minutes, you should have done this, but during the meeting to talk about it in the minutes, though, describe the data that you reviewed. So the goal is during this meeting is to let all the people on the committee know the reason why you guys will be meeting, to let them as a group start to go over some data. I'd encourage you to go over some testing data, some TEL data, things like that. If you do as a committee go over your TEL data, don't forget that can be used observation number 8 that's on your syllabus. You can actually take care of during this meeting, take care of observation number 8 as well. Based on that information that you guys, after you're done reviewing lots of data, try to identify 1 to 3 areas for that committee to focus on to make improvements moving forward. And then at the conclusion of that meeting, obviously you need to set up the date and time for your next meeting, and then record the time that the meeting was over. Type up those minutes and upload those under week number 3. As I described then, preparing for your first visit with the clinical educator, your clinical educator is going to meet with you and your committee during the second meeting. So at committee meeting number 2, you're going to invite the clinical educator and the entire committee, and we ask that you guys meet as a group on or before October the 2nd. As I just said, your clinical educator will observe you work with your committee at this second meeting, once again, on or before October the 2nd. I just want to emphasize during these meetings that you should be the one that's leading these meetings. What your clinical educator will want to observe during this meeting number 2 with your committee is the following. Lead a team meeting to problem solve a process that will define the problem. So once again, we just talked about that in committee meeting number 1, but revisit that, what problem or problems you've defined. During this meeting, go detail a plan to address the problem. What activities, timelines, what staff involvement will there be, what budget or budgets, funds you will need to use to work on and putting things into place to make those improvements. How will the plan be strategically implemented? Develop an evaluation plan that will be monitored over time. So how will you know that you're making progress? How will you know that what things you're doing are having a positive effect? Ensure that compliance with all existing laws, regulations, policies, and ethics within the school. Under the guidance of the principal, implement the plan. So once again, that principal should be present. He or she should be very well involved, even though you're leading the meeting. They are still the leader of that building. They need to be a very, very integral part of this process. And lastly, lead the partners collaboratively developing an action plan to address the issue. So in conclusion, the reason I was wanting to get this all together to revisit this was I don't feel like we were, myself and David Baird were on the same page when I met with you guys the first time online. So I've met with David Baird since then. I just wanted to reemphasize some of those things. So once again, your first committee meeting, your clinical educator will not be present. So you get that committee together, go over these details under week 3. It's also described on the PowerPoint under week 1 as well. And that first meeting should be on or before September the 10th. Your second committee meeting should take place with your committee, and your clinical educator should be present. And that should take place on or before October the 2nd. Remember, if you want to know who your clinical educator is, under week 1, under the student assignment, you can find out who your clinical educator is, and here is their email address to be able to get in contact with them. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, Dr. Dustin Brumbaugh, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have, or if needed, to set up a phone call or something like that. I hope you found this meeting to be helpful, and please let me know if I can support you in any way. Thank you.